how quickly can Ruben Amorim and the recruitment team at United get to a point whereby they can adapt this squad into a 3-4-3 squad. And it's going to be a minimum of 2 or 3 transfer windows because of the investment that's been made, and we know the club's on the edge of PSR. They've lost 300 million in the last 3 years, so there's a real struggle and a real fight to be able to spend the money that they need to in the transfer market as well, because a lot of it's been wasted in the last few years.
We'll get back to Gary in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And also, remember, you know how it works. If you've got something to say, please put it in the comment section. If something's bubbling up inside of you, please express yourself with your keyboard. The Big D loves to read the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments. Even if you think the Big D is talking nonsense, please put it in the comment section. Big D can take it. He's a big boy. Anyway, in this clip, Gary Neville is going to be talking some more about Man United's disastrous loss to Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League. And stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving some further thoughts about that disastrous victory, and he's going to be commenting specifically on what Gary Neville's got to say. And the Big D disagrees with a lot of what Gary Neville's got to say, believe it or not. Anyway, here's Gary.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Gary Neville podcast on a freezing cold evening at Tottenham Hotspur. Off the back, though, for Spurs of a warming 1-0 win against Manchester United. Spurs, Gary, on the day had big stars back. Manchester United all of a sudden have a lot of stars missing. Was that the key to the game, or was there more to it than that?
No, I don't think either team. Look, at the end of the day, Tottenham's got players missing, United had players missing, so they were probably equal in that department. Tottenham maybe got more players missing than United. I thought first half Tottenham were far better. I thought the just general performance levels, and I think both teams are in similar positions at the moment. They started this game, I think Tottenham in, United 14th. United 14th, Tottenham in 15th. So they're both having very poor seasons. But when you watch Spurs play, you still can see that the players, know what they're doing. They play to a system. The passing's quite attractive. I thought some of the play in the first 25 minutes was fantastic, and I think that every time I watch Spurs, and they go 1 goal up in that period. The surprise was that United didn't capitalise in the second half, when obviously United did play better, and Spurs have struggled recently to maintain leads at home. But going back to the first half, I thought just the style of play, speed of the play, and United had an imbalance today. And look, at the end of the day, United have got what they've got. They've got some kids on the bench. They've got Lindelof on the bench. So they had Xerxes, Højlund and Garnacho up top. But I felt what was asked of Bruno Fernandes in that first half in particular wasn't right. And meaning that the gaps in midfield with Casemiro means you can never get the ball back quickly. There was a point in the game where Tottenham had 76% of the ball. Now, obviously Tottenham are a good team on the ball, but if you can never lay a glove on someone, never get close to anybody, Tottenham always had that easy out pass to what ended up being the man of the match in Jed Spence. And he was man of the match, partly because he played well done to him, but partly because of the way United played, and they made it easy for him on this side, so he basically dominated the game in possession. So, yeah, I was disappointed with the way in which United set up in that first half. I know, look, Ruben Amorim has said, and maybe rightly so, and he's going to die in a ditch on this, I'm not going to change. I'm going to play this 3-4-3. And the 3-4-3 is a 2 behind a 1, narrow 2 behind a 1 and the 2 wing-backs, which is fine. But when today you've got 2 strikers, and you've got Garnacho obviously on one side on the left, against Newcastle when he played Xerxes as sort of in the pocket, it just didn't work at all. And if you remember, he was hooked after 25 minutes, and he had to go out to that, I think it was left-hand side that day against Newcastle, and it was awkward for him. So what Ruben Amorim has done is he overcompensated this time. He said, right, I can't have that again, fair enough. So you're going to stay narrow, and Bruno, you're going to get out over here to Jed Spence at left-back. The problem is with that, you've got Casemiro then left in midfield, and you've got your best player, Bruno Fernandes, doing an absolute shift out to basically close down a full-back and then having to get back in again. And I just didn't think that worked at all. It wasn't right from minute 1. It was better in the second half, but certainly in the first half it just wasn't right. It was a standout feature for me.
It's really interesting to me, this, because you pros see these things that not everybody does, in fairness. And I just wonder what was better in the second half. And given that those were the 11 players he had available, and he was obviously going to play 3-4-3. How better deployed could they have been?
Well, it was interesting. I think it was about 5 minutes to go in the first half. I think Dalot, the right wing back, who was up on this side with Bruno, came over to speak to Ruben Amorim, and I think I saw Ruben Amorim saying, you push on. So what could have happened was Bruno could have stayed where he was, and Dalot could have gone higher, and that could have meant that one of the centre backs comes across into his space, and they could have compensated in that way. I thought it could have been dealt with better because it gives Spurs an easy footing in the game. I always remember when teams came to Old Trafford with an imbalanced team, which, say, left me open at right back. And you can hear them saying in the dressing room before the game, leave Gary Neville with the ball. One of the worst United players on the ball. Good tactic. However, I don't care how average the right back is or the left back is on the ball. If you give an easy out all the time to a good passing team, to a full back, it means you can never get a footing in the game. It means they've always got a way in which they can just basically have a safety net to get out against you. And Jed Spence was that in the first half. And sometimes it happens where you say leave a full-back on the ball, but not to that extent. So, I understand Ruben Amorim's problems. I understand the United players' problems in the sense that obviously they've got what they've got, and they've got a lot of young lads on the bench, and they maybe don't want to use them at this point in the season. It'd be tough for them. There must be a different solution. Split strikers is another way of dealing with it, or, I don't know. There's just different ways of dealing with it. I just wouldn't have left Casemiro. I think they were lucky to get away in the first half with only being 1-0 down, even though Garnacho had an amazing chance.
Well, they did have chances, didn't they, United? And I suppose even as the big stars return for Spurs, they are still without their senior centre-halves. That was the point of vulnerability, and the story might have been different if United had taken those chances.
I mean, for United not to score today when Spurs basically haven't got three of their first choice back four, they haven't got Van de Ven, they haven't got Romero, they haven't got Dragusin, they haven't got Udogie. So you're thinking to yourself, you've got Ben Davies at centre-back, with Danso who's playing his first game. You've got Jed Spence who's played a few games obviously now for Spurs, quite a few at left back, but you're thinking, I mean, even towards the end I'm thinking United definitely will score here. I almost said it, I said I'd be amazed if there wasn't another goal, and I was thinking United are going to score here. I'm amazed they didn't do. I said before the game I actually featured Garnacho because I'd looked at his stats where I'd seen that he hadn't scored or assisted now in a Premier League game since November, which is 13 games, and he's one of United's most talented young players, and all young players go through a spell where they don't quite do well. And he's obviously had that hiccup as well with Ruben Amorim where he left him out, didn't he, as well, for the Manchester derby. But he had to take one of those chances today. He kept going, he always keeps going, he's tenacious. But he had some really big chances, and I think that's to me where the game was. You could tell it was two teams lacking in confidence. The Spurs crowd were waiting for United to score almost themselves. They were like sort of thinking, we know what's coming here, because they've seen it over the last few months. So I think at the end when the final whistle went, they were just so relieved. But we know it's a long way back for United. It's all been said. There is nothing more to say. But it's how quickly can Ruben Amorim not just get good players in of the right quality, but get players in who can fit into this system. It's a peculiar system, 3-4-3. It's a system where you've got to find two midfield players who are good enough to play with each other and cover a lot of ground. You've got to find three centre-backs, and to find three centre-backs meaning that two and the outside ones have got to be capable of going outside and playing wide areas when in full-back areas when the wing-backs go forward. The wing-back positions are crucial, and then you're also asking for these two sort of pocket players behind the striker. So you're asking for specialists, I think, a long way throughout the team. It's not like other systems which are a little bit more forgiving. So how quickly can Ruben Amorim and the recruitment team at United get to a point whereby they can adapt this squad into a 3-4-3 squad? And it's going to be a minimum of 2 or 3 transfer windows because of the investment that's been made, and we know the club's on the edge of PSR. They've lost 300 million in the last 3 years, so there's a real struggle and a real fight to be able to spend the money that they need to in the transfer market as well, because a lot of it's been wasted in the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, it is a frustrating loss, and I'm going to try my best not to repeat myself, because I've already talked at length about the result in the previous video, but I'm going to try my best to not repeat myself, but I probably will. So please, bear with the big D. Anyway, Gary Neville, I mean, so much made about this 3-4-3 Ruben Amorim system. You would think it was some kind of Stephen Hawking level Rubik's Cube venture to the moon complicated style system that you need specialists to play in it. It's just a 3-4-3. You need 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs, 2 central midfielders and 3 attackers. It's not complicated. You don't need specialists. In fact, I mean, at the end of the day, football is 11 men versus 11 men kicking a ball on a grass into the opposition net and not conceding in your own. It's not complicated. Oh, honestly, really, I mean, I understand that these footballers, they are athletically gifted, and some players are just, like, weirdly gifted at the game. I get that, and I understand, and I'm not saying it's not a difficult, competitive industry to break into and all of that good stuff. I understand that. I get it. But when you're at that level, when you're at Manchester United's level, when you're at Gary Neville's level, when he played, it shouldn't be too complicated. Just keep it simple. Hey, you don't need specialists necessarily for that specific system. You don't. The only thing that team needs, that Man United team needs now, is a number 9, someone who can score goals. That's it. If we had a Luis Suarez up front, or a Lewandowski, or a Harry Kane, or a Ruud van Nistelrooy, or a pure goal scorer, that would have been a different game, 100%. Because we'd have took our chances and we'd have won. And not only would that game have been a different result, like loads of the previous games that we've lost in the Premier League would have been different, and we'd have been higher up in the table. Because, as Big D always says, it's becoming a trope now, it's becoming a slogan for the Big D. One man doesn't make a team, but one man can make a difference. And that's all that this Man United team needs now. Prior to the transfer window, the Big D was always on about, we need proper left wing back, because they'll be able to provide width and provide an extra attacking outlet going forward. But also, if they are athletically gifted, then they'll provide cover at the back, which Dorgu did very well in this game. And considering he's made the step up from Serie A, which is a subpar league compared to the Premier League now, maybe not back in the day, but now it is. He's done really well in the games that he's played so far, and he did play particularly well today. We were let down by a goalkeeping error and also our inability to not score a goal. That was it. And we didn't play that bad. We just didn't play that bad. We were all right. We played quite well. There were moments where I was like, wow, yeah, that's not bad. And Xerxes was class. He was class. He reminded me a little bit of Dimitar Berbatov, to be honest, the way he used to play. Lots of intricate skills. Passing ability was good. And yeah, he was good. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Berbatov. There might be some people here who are, Berbatov fans, and fair enough. And there's some people who might think that Berbatov wasn't great for Man United. The Big D feels as though Dimitar Berbatov hindered Manchester United when he played at that time. But Berbatov was still a good player. And Xerxes reminded the Big D about Berbatov today, just in terms of style. But the point being is, Xerxes played quite well today, and the only thing that this team lacked was a goal scorer. Everything else was fine. I didn't see anything other. The Big D didn't see any other glaring errors other than the goalkeeper in in the lead up to their goal. But that was it. That was it. So I just feel as though sometimes some of these pundits, particularly Gary Neville, needs to embellish in his analysis. But the Big D sympathises, because sometimes the Big D embellishes in his YouTube channel, because you need to sometimes, because you need to provide content and all of this, blah, 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 blah. However, the Big D will not break his promise to his viewers in that he will not deviate away from telling the brutally honest truth. And the brutally honest truth from what the Big D has to say today, based on what he's watched today, is that Manchester United actually played quite well. We did. Spurs weren't that good. I mean, fair enough, they got the win, but they weren't that good. They took one big chance, that was it. And they got the win, that's it. But we didn't take our chances. And that was the difference. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. But yeah, I mean, Garnacho. The Big D's torn with Garnacho because the Big D thinks that Alejandro Garnacho is overrated. And he's thought that for a good couple of seasons now. He's provided some spectacular moments and he's scored some really good goals, but he's been very hit and miss. And he wasn't great today. It's almost like Garnacho, he does better with the chances that he's not expected to score. But when it comes to simple chances, he can't seem to do it. It's weird. Because he should have scored today. That was a glaring chance that he had. That should have been 1-1. That being said, he has improved with his general attitude of late. So you've got to give him credit there. And I hope he becomes a world-class player, obviously. I don't want to sort of criticise him and be too negative on him, because he still is a young lad, and fair enough. And I hope he does sort of perfect the basics and he's able to execute the simple things, because that seems to be what's missing from his game. It's the simple things. Trapping a ball, passing a ball, scoring easy chances. But he's great when he hits teams on the counter and he scores world-class goals. It's weird. It's almost like he's only ever been watching highlight reels of his favourite players on YouTube all of his life, and he's just practiced that. But what he hasn't been practicing is sort of the basic skills that a footballer needs to master if they are going to be a world-class footballer. And that's what Ronaldo done when he played for Man United, when he was an up-and-coming starlet. He was great at sort of the spectacular YouTube, sensational highlight reel kind of stuff, but when it came to the sort of the simple, intricate sort of passing and link-up play and tap-ins and all of that, at first he wasn't great, but then obviously he acknowledged that, he addressed it, and he become absolutely world-beaten, second best player of all time level, elite status. Fair enough. Hopefully Alejandro Garnacho can even do 40% of that. If Garnacho is able to achieve 40% of what Ronaldo achieved, then he will still be a world-class player. But yeah, I mean, the 3-4-3, it's not that complicated. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. The defence played quite well today. Casemiro played quite well. Bruno, his usual busy self, fair enough. Dalot and Dorgu, class. Xerxes, class. It's just Højlund and Garnacho are misfiring, and that's what teams need. They need a player that makes a difference. I mean, who's top of the league? It's Liverpool. If Salah wasn't in that team, would they be top of the league? Probably not. I mean, Arsenal are crying out for a goal scorer. If Arsenal had a goal scorer, if Arsenal had a talismanic goal scorer, like Liverpool have got Salah, Arsenal would be closer to Liverpool. Maybe even Arsenal would be top of the league. And that's the difference a goal scorer makes. A goal scorer, or a talismanic sort of goal scoring player, is the player that turns a good side into a trophy winning side. You know? But yeah, Tottenham weren't that great. You know, they played well enough to win, but you know, they weren't. I don't know. They weren't anything special. And all right, fair enough. They were missing some players and that. Fine. But United were missing players too. So, you know, if Tottenham Hotspur were at their full strength and Man United were at their full strength, there wouldn't be much difference to what happened in the game today. So I don't know. I just think that's a non-issue, really. But yeah, it was an interesting game, I must admit, and I did enjoy it. Man United did look like they were going to score because they were creating so many chances, but you know, alas, they just weren't able to sort of get over the line. Which it is. I mean, it is a shame. It is a shame because I feel as though if Man United were able to score one, they would have got another. Because there were times there where I thought that Spurs were just hanging on by the skin of the teeth. But then again, I don't know, maybe I had my blinkers on. You tell me. What do you think? Is the Big D talking nonsense? Please put it in the comments. I read all of the comments and I am more than happy, the Big D can't even talk anymore. Big D's had one too many today. But the Big D is more than happy to take any constructive criticism or any constructive contradiction to what the Big D's saying. So please, if you've got something to say, put it in the comments. If you've gotten this far in the Big D's video, you're clearly interested in what the Big D's got to say, and because of that, I appreciate you, and I want to know what you're thinking, so you know what to do. Anyway, that's all for the Big D. When it comes to Gary Neville, anyway, maybe I'll make something on Ruben Amorim. Anyway, see you in the next one.